Hi, my name is Renata. I am a professor in the Federal Rural University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and I'm here to present our work entitled Microplastics in a Brazilian Southeast Bay. 𝗕𝗶𝑝𝑠 Bay was an important port in the past, but it still is an important artisanal fishery place in Rio de Janeiro, and it is a rural area, which means a lot of people live in this bay and they need its water. However, a lot of rivers flow into this bay and they can carry a lot of pollution, but more importantly, it can carry a lot of microplastics, which are the result of irregular disposal. Let's talk a bit about microplastics. These are, in the figure, are the gyres of the world, which means these are the regions in the oceans where a lot of plastics flow and they are concentrated in these areas. So these gyres, they are responsible for a lot of altering in the flora and fauna of these places. And all the oceans are connected, so it is important to observe the plastics around the world because it will impact the plastics in our oceans. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, specifically, it presents millions of kilometers of plastics and trillions of microplastics. It concentrates a lot of plastic, and it was reported that these microplastics and plastics altered the microbial population in this place. So it alters basically the oceans all around the world. And this in the figure, in the second figure, in the right figure, is the root, the simplified root of microplastics and how we interact with them. Usually, they are in the air that we breathe, in the food that we eat, because fishes, a lot of algae, they are from the oceans. And if our oceans have many microplastics, thousands, millions of microplastics, we are in contact with microplastics every day. So the goal of this presentation was to evaluate the presence of microplastics in 𝗕𝗶𝑝𝑠 Bay. It is a small bay. It is a focal approach of something that's much bigger than we can imagine. Collect the microplastics, or even better, to collect the water, the seawater, and the sand of 𝗕𝗶𝑝𝑠 Bay. We went there and we collected following the simplified scheme of the first figure. Besides, we floated these microplastics using different salts with the different densities. And after floating, we basically dried the collected material, and then we observed it in microscope. The results we found were lots of microplastics, dozens of microplastics with different morphologies, from fibers to fragments and lots of transparent plastics and films, and some green particles, which reminds us of fishery networks. And it was not unexpected, but it's sad in a way. What we observed of the presence of microplastics in Sepetiba Bay waters, we encountered different amounts of microplastics in accordance with this floating solution that we used. So we're going to talk about the maximum amount found in sand and in seawater. So in Sepetiba Bay, there were at least 1.1 microplastic per milliliter of seawater and at least 2.3 microplastics per gram of sand, meaning that every milliliter of seawater and gram of sand have at least one microplastic per item. And it was a complete absurd because it's not unexpected, but it's sad to observe the reflex of humans in nature and pollution that we were not expecting at least 50 years ago. We divided the microplastics that we found into microspheres, fibers, and fragments. And around 7% of the microplastics were microspheres, probably related to cosmetic products, and 38% were fibers, probably most of them due to improper disposal of sewage. It could be the result of textile industries, or probably also from improper home and common sewage. And 56% were fragments. And these fragments presented weathering in all of them. So it is a result of, it's probably a result of the contact with different particles and the result of fragmentation of these microplastics into nanoplastics, probably. So maybe the problem is a bit bigger than we were facing. So as a conclusion of this simple and humble work, we found hundreds of microplastics with morphologies ranging from fibers to particles and to films, most exhibiting weathering. The maximum values observed were 1.1 microplastic particles per milliliter of seawater and 2.3 microplastics per gram of sand. And the microplastic pollution in this way is primarily composed of fragments and fibers, probably indicating uncontrolled disposal of sewage, of plastic, and probably the result of a single-use plastic incorrect disposal. We would like to thank you for your attention, for your time. Thank you so much. And we also would like to thank the conference for this opportunity. Thank you so much. And our acknowledgement also goes to our funding grant, and we would like to thank the National Council for Scientific and Technological Development for the funding grant, and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, and our partners, our colleagues, and everyone at 𝑢FRRJ that makes it possible to make science in this university. Thank you so much.